Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 8, 2024. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. Boys, at a very special time. And it truly is so special now. Powerful energies are with us. It is going to be either at the very end of this week in some parts of the Americas, but actually dipping into the beginning of next week in the rest of the world. We are going to have a full moon in the sign of Gemini. And this is a powerful full moon, the last one of 2024, and it is close in the sky to Jupiter. Now, I want you to consider that we ended last week with the sun opposite Jupiter. And part of that meant that Jupiter was especially bright in the sky, brighter than it might otherwise be. And that's part of the energy of possibility and hope that we're carrying into this week that's going to be feeling as if it's illuminated that much more under the light of the full moon at the very end of this week. So in some ways, we're carrying forward throughout this week that very energy of possibility and of a sense of wanting to know more and to be more than we were before. Because this is in the sign of Gemini, well, it has to do with how we're actually perceiving, how we're learning, how we're communicating from a place of greater optimism and greater hope all around. But that can also suggest that a lot of us are giving into a tendency of over-promising at this time, whether these are promises we're making to ourselves or to others. We're that much more likely to see things not just optimistically, but almost like bombastically, from a sense of what we're hoping for rather than what actually is. But here's the thing, we get to this full moon, there's every reason for hope here. But the full moon is speaking in a conversation of tension with Neptune, and to a certain extent, a wider or rather less strong conversation, but there nonetheless, a conversation with Saturn is part of this full moon energy as well. And as much as Jupiterian energy is about hope, it might just be that we are needing it at this time because there could be some disappointment playing out. And I'm so sorry to say, but it might be part of the energy of this moment and of this time. And so we have that Neptunian square. That in and of itself can suggest a measure of disillusionment, of disappointment, and of having to reconcile ourselves with what is less than ideal, where it is perhaps we were led astray, even if it was just us that was leading ourselves astray. But on a collective level, this can also be a sense of mixed feelings, mixed emotions that might be at play now as we see the wisdom of what it is that seems to not be working out. The wisdom is that Jupiterian energy, but still feel disappointed. And it's okay to acknowledge that at this time. But what we also get is Saturn, and Saturn represents hard truths. Saturn squares are reality check moments. But with Neptune there as well, it's almost like the reality is right there in front of us. Again, Mercury standing still in the sky. It is clear as day, and yet it's hard to accept. It's hard to really embrace. And so it becomes a moment when, I like to say, pace yourself and be yourself, because it's not always what you think. And what I mean by that is, look, it's a full moon. It's going to bring truth to the surface. And that truth just might be the truth of what you really feel in your given circumstance. And it is the idea of perception that is especially highlighted now, given that this is a full moon in the sign of Gemini. And so Gemini already has to do with what we're talking about, how we are understanding. All of it might feel convoluted, and yet the likelihood of us perhaps seeing things, perceiving things pessimistically, and yet in a way that might just be necessary for us, well, it is part of the energy of this moment as we move towards the very end of the week. Mercury direct always is illuminating. And even though the direct isn't until next week, it's the Mercury station that starts to make things a whole lot clearer. Now, outside of these major celestial energies surrounding the full moon, I'm going to invite you to throw in some asteroids here, right? Because they help us to understand with greater depth and nuance, really, what might be playing out for us now. And in particular, consider that the sun, under the light of this full moon, is hand in hand with Eros. And it is the moon that is hand in hand with Cupid. These are each energies that speak to what's happening in terms of desire, in terms of love, in terms of how we're directing passionate love at this time. And throw in there, if all of that wasn't enough, Psyche, the other important asteroid having to do with love, is speaking in supreme harmony with this full moon. It was a conversation I had with SABRINA Monarch a while back that was so influential in my understanding of these given asteroids. And I have that here in my YouTube channel. You might want to look at that again. And of course, SABRINA is coming to Synchronicity University as part of her own 5-week course, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. My goodness, did SABRINA ever impress me with her depth of knowledge and understanding of these myths and how we live them. Eros is a principle of what it is that feels like electricity, what it is that feels like it wakes you up, because there's nothing like, but that trine of Psyche to this full moon reminds us of understanding that what is for you is going to be for you, and what isn't just can't be. It reminds us the power of acceptance and of surrender. Think about the myth of Psyche and Eros. So, as SABRINA helped me to understand, there's an understanding within this myth of how it is that love and desire itself can feel as if it just comes on. Feels like it comes out of nowhere. It just arrives, regardless of where we intended to find it, how we intended to awaken it in others. It really feels as if we're just going about doing what we do, and then there it is. But then we're also left with a sense of powerlessness, as was Psyche. It was while Psyche was sleeping that Eros would show up, and she wasn't allowed to see what Psyche looked like. And it was in this state of the dark where she experienced such passion that when she didn't have that passion, she was left in a state of longing. I'm going to invite you to look at this image. I never forgot this image. I saw it in a museum. To me, it encapsulated perfectly so much of how it is that we understand the asteroids of Psyche and even Eros as well. What does love do more than anything? Well, I would say it stirs us, it challenges us, it evokes something really powerful within us. And very often what that is rooted in some very deep patterns of the psyche, that is rooted in some very early experiences we had, some of which, many of which, we may not even be conscious of. But in many ways, they set the pace for our understanding of what we feel love is, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like for us, what our expectations are with people that we trust enough to be intimate with. Now, that's not just physically, although that might be a part of it, but emotionally vulnerable with as well, as Psyche was with Eros. But we get here Psyche, in the midst of these challenges, having to go to the underworld, which is ultimately a part of the unconscious, right? The shadow self that you don't want to look at, having to face demons. And as she is in the boat through the Styx, she feels like she has been through it. She has been through the ringer, right? It's hard to get through the underworld, but she's doing it because she wants love. She wants to be with whom she believes she loves. And as part of these challenges, these demons, this becomes a very powerful metaphor for how it is that when we are in the throes of not passion, but the throes of our own fears, of our own feelings of powerlessness. There's really not a lot we can do, but just trust that we'll get through it. When we go to the underworld, when we are in a dark night of the soul, we don't have a lot of power other than faith that we will get through it. And of course, we do get through it, because I think that we as people are more resilient than we realize. And some of this energy that we're considering love and passion, of course, it can play out romantically, but very often that's more a metaphor for the love that we're invited to show ourselves, that we're invited to embody for ourselves in our own unique journeys. We do have Venus standing across the sky from Mars, taking place on Thursday. And this is interesting. When you think about the mythology of Venus and Mars, these are two entities that found each other downright irresistible. No matter what else was happening, no matter who else was around, they really found it very hard not to be together. In fact, they found many a moment and many a ways in which to connect. Hence, they gave birth to Cupid and, of course, Eros. So, yes, when these two connect, there are electricity moments, there are passionate moments, but we're also seeing where it is that some of that might need to be held back or questioned in some way, where it comes from. And I know I'm putting it on Venus, but it isn't just about Venus, it's about Mars as well. So Venus has to do with what it is that we do to draw people in. And it's the spirit of love that we find with each other romantically, but outside of romance as well. But Mars is desire, it's passion, it's a pure sense of being propelled towards another. And whenever it is that Venus and Mars connect, there is a sense that this tendency of feeling that electricity with others is that much more heightened at this time. Mars is quite newly retrograde and is right now closer to the Earth than it might otherwise be. It's at the height of its power. And it is, as we begin this week, that Venus is coming off of a meeting with Pluto that brought with it a lot of intensity and a magnification of desire that for some people felt quite consuming. But for all that, it is going to be the lead up to the full moon where we get this opposition that's only going to heighten our awareness around what we desire, why we desire it, where it is that love and desire feel fair and where they don't. Where it is it feels like a power game or a power struggle, where that's healthy, where that isn't. Where we might be called on, whatever our desires might be, and where it is that we might be called in ways that are actually good for us and present us with healthy challenge, and where it is that that isn't the case. Mars retrograde season is actually quite infamous for bringing people of passion into our lives. It doesn't mean that anything necessarily is playing out in a real way, in a practical way. Sometimes it's our own imagination that fills in certain gaps, and I think that's very possible right now. It is Mars that is in the sign of Leo, and Leo loves a good flirtation. Loves being carried away on that flirtation and feeling the aliveness of heart that comes in a flirtatious moment when you have Mars in Leo. But it will be soon enough, once we step into next month, that Mars is going to move out of the sign of Leo, move into the sign of Cancer. And it is there that Mars will be making some harmonious connections with Neptune, filled with dreams, with Uranus, with fresh perspectives. But Mars in Cancer is a very different vibration. It's going to value what's been proven, and it's going to value those connections that have brought and demonstrate stability, especially over the long term. And of course, I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. I've been talking to you about it in the monthly horoscopes and the Mars retrograde special horoscopes over on my website as well. On Friday, with Mercury standing still in the sky, already holding tight this slow moving conversation that Mercury is having with Mars, actually, which is bringing mind and passion together. Well, we get a harmonious connection between Mercury and Venus as well. So again, this is about understanding what's happening with us on levels of heart, understanding our own desires in just about any area of life, why we are propelled the way that we are. With Mercury, we're invited to bring intellect into the mix so that we're not just responding on a level of instinct, but in some way we're elevating the energy because of Mercury, yes, but also because of Venus. Venus in the sign of Aquarius. That in and of itself is inviting us to see different sides of where it is that love has brought us. And it invites us to look at a platonic love and how rewarding and fulfilling that could be. Whereas Mars in Leo wants the embodiment, the experience, the physical aliveness that passion can bring, it is Venus in Aquarius that understands that sometimes love is playing out at higher levels, intellectual levels. And in our understanding, we can decide on our own values, our own ethics, our own morality around how we are going to operate. That morality part, that's Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. So understand that as we move late in the week, that's when the sky is really kicking up. And as the sky kicks up, we're going to be feeling all kinds of things now. And some of it may very well have us looking at what we actually believe, the values we hold collectively and individually. And just when we think we understand with that full moon, we really might not. But so much of where answers just might find us are likely going to be found through mind level understanding. And technically, remember, Mercury is still retrograde. Even with light bulb moments popping at the end of the week, we're still going to have that as we dip into next week. And it is next week that finally, as a result of what we're understanding late this week, we find a pathway forward. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. I'm going to say I love the energy of, well, it is that full moon that I think is the star of the show now. And so much of that full moon energy is going to focus on the fact that Pluto is close in the sky. And what that tells me is regardless of whatever kind of roller coaster we might find ourselves in, there's every reason for hope. There's an energy here of healing. There's an energy here of real reasons to be genuinely optimistic. But this isn't just about what's playing out on levels of desire and passion and attraction, although that can be quite nice and that can be quite fun. But it's also about all the ways in which we have desires and things that we're reaching for in our own lives, including the kind of person that we desire to be. It has to do with a clarity and a conviction around what it is that feels like it wakes up our hearts, but also aligns us with a healthy sense of morality, enough so that we are acting from a place where we affirm a healthy sense of knowing that we're living in accordance with our own ideals and ethics as we understand them. It makes life a whole lot more peaceful when we do. And wherever it is that a wake up is set to come, just let it, allow it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that your first instinct is the one to go with. Actually, I would say if ever there was a time when strength, when genuine love is found through acknowledging our passions, but also bringing intellect into the mix, well, it really would be a sky like this that suggests so. There's every reason for hope now. There's every reason to believe that meaningful healing can be found in unexpected ways. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys, and to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, a thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Sending a massive burst of gratitude to the sponsor of this week's video. It is the Modern Mystic Ancient Mind YouTube channel. They've got a sister channel as well called Love Without Limits. And the Love Without Limits is more about what's happening romantically. The Modern Mystic Ancient Mind channel is about philosophies and spiritualities from around the world. Now, please go ahead and subscribe to their channel. And if you watch just one of their videos, it actually helps my channel and this video out so much. So I hope those of you who have already subscribed, thank you. That's a brand new YouTube channel. Now they've got a second really brand spanking new YouTube channel called Love Without Limits. All of those links are in the comments and in the description below. And thank you to them again. And thank you to you for supporting my amazing sponsors. Synchronicity University has some absolutely incredible programs coming up in January, and you've got just a few weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from these incredible, renowned astrologers like we have here. And I'm going to start with our very, very big dog that we have. We are so lucky to have the one and only Maurice Fernandez as part of Synchronicity University, joining us for the first time for his own 5-week course. Maurice is one of the leading evolutionary astrologers on the planet, and I have watched it in front of my eyes over the years. I have watched him rise and rise to become so well respected and renowned as he is today. And he is going to be teaching a class helping you to start the new year strong. Start the new year off with that understanding of how you're going to align with your soul from an evolutionary perspective to make the most of 2025 and the opportunities that are going to be here in 2025 for you. What a wonderful way to start a brand new year with the soul's evolution very much at the forefront, and understanding how to work with astrology to your advantage as only Maurice can teach it. I will tell you, a class with Maurice, a talk with Maurice is often described as an experience, a spiritual experience. Now, imagine having that experience going 5 weeks strong, week after week. That's what you're going to get. If you can't join live, you'll get the recording, no worries. And really, Synchronicity University is the only place where you will learn from Maurice Fernandez for as low as just $5 a class. That is an unheard of rate to learn from Maurice. You've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate. You can learn a lot more. You can sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents Sabrina Monarch. I was talking about her earlier. She is so brilliant. And look at this course, Akashic Records. This is something that so many students want to learn, and she is the perfect person to teach it. So the Akashic Records are this understanding of how there's essentially a book where is written all your past lives, your future lives, and where you are right now in your soul's journey, and so much more. And it is the Akashic records that can reveal themselves in the astrology chart and so much more. And so this class is experiential, but it is also one filled with knowledge. It is going to help you to see and recognize those very soul patterns, soul contracts written in, the contracts we make to ourselves, the plan that could be there as part of a higher, more loving vision for our soul's journey, not just in this lifetime, but before and after as well. So again, Sabrina is the perfect person to teach this. And you've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. There's nowhere else that you're going to learn about the Akashic records and how to access them yourself for that low a rate. It's only at synchronicityuniversity.com. And then you add to this layer, this other understanding that has to do with just Sabrina and all she brings, the insight, the heart, the soul, the understanding. She's the perfect person to teach this. So yes, you've got a little time left. You can learn a whole lot more. Sign up now for as low as just $5 a class, only at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only Key Tyler, presenting 5 astrological foundations of change. You've got a couple of weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as well as just $5 a class to learn from Key. This is going to be such an exciting course. Over the course of 5 weeks, Key will help you to understand elements and elemental balance and how that connects you to your 5 senses so that you can actually experience life itself that much more fully. She's going to go through water, earth, fire, air, and ether or spirit, and help you to understand how those show up in your chart and how to maximize them so that you're tuning into the experience of life that much more. Key is so grounded in love and wisdom. I think you saw that when you saw her on my channel before, when I interviewed her, when you learned from her before at Synchronicity University as part of a previous speaker series, and now here she is with her very own course. This is a course that you want to sign up for to feel that much more present for your life and have that much more an enriched experience. And again, you've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. To learn from the one and only Key Tyler, only at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents an absolutely incredible January speaker series. You've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class to learn from these incredible women, only at Synchronicity University this January. So let's go through them. There's some familiar faces, there's some brand new people, and I'm excited about each and every one of them. Natalie Levin, I love her astrological voice. I love her content. She brings so much heart and knowledge and wisdom and joy to astrology, and she's going to help us to understand metaphor and muse and how that plays out in terms of your astrological practice. Anj Noor is somebody that you saw recently on my channel. I love her astrology, and she's going to help us to understand the power of the zodiac wheel. Vanessa Guy is coming to Synchronicity University. Now, she is somebody who just stands out. I found her online on Instagram. I absolutely love her, and she's going to help us to understand the North Node in the context of 2025. Now, it is Vanessa that is part of, or rather the force behind Astro Woke, and she is a person who teaches in sign language. She is going to be presenting in ASL, American Sign Language, and will have an English tutor, translator available who is going to help us to hear it, and she's going to help us to see it, and so much more. I'm so excited to have our very first presentation in ASL. Vivia D'Souza, I love this woman. I met her over a year ago at the Canadian Astrology Conference, and she made such an impression. She brought so much love, so much insight, passion for astrology, and now she's going to be teaching at Synchronicity University. Sigil magic to align you with wealth is what she brings. And Catherine O'Connell is back, and she's going to help us to rewild Saturn. You might remember her. I loved her astrology as well. How much heart and wisdom she brings. She's the author of several books. She's got a lot to teach about Saturn and so much more. So you can see here we have an absolutely incredible roster coming up this January, only at Synchronicity University as part of our January speaker series at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm so grateful for it. Now, as part of the short horoscopes, I think I'm going to go over the full moon for each sign. Of course, I did have an extended look at that, or a more extended look at that in your monthly horoscope, so you may want to watch that again. But I'll touch on it for the short horoscopes this week as well, because I think we have so much to look forward to with this very powerful energy as the last full moon of 2024. I hope you absolutely enjoy it with everything going on with it, with the surprising ways in which our own desires, our own passions, but also disappointments might find us, but ultimately all of it leading to that hope and the optimism that Jupiter promises as well. And I'll also say, if you haven't already, make sure you go outside this weekend to see Jupiter especially bright in the sky, brighter, more visible than Jupiter otherwise might be. And it's going to be visible all night, moving from the east to the west in the sky. I hope you love it. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. The last full moon of 2024 is an interesting one. It's a bit of a doozy considering that it is speaking in conversations of tension with Neptune and Saturn. And that brings with it energy of confusion, uncertainty, mixed feelings, and maybe even disappointment, but also hard truths that we just have to reconcile with. But here's the thing, the full moon is close in the sky to Jupiter, which is the harbinger of hope. Whatever it feels like isn't working out, as we admit the truth of what we feel, as every full moon carries the energy of bringing emotional truth to the surface, well, even with the disappointment, there's also every reason for hope. It is a disappointment or a reality check we need so that we can ultimately align with a much more prosperous and optimistic future that we deserve. Now, for all this, we're going to have on the same day Mercury standing still in the sky. Messages are coming through in a rapid fire kind of way, making so much so clear for us now. Synchronistic moments are especially high and carry with them this very energy of at once having to look at all the things that inspire us, that we're hopeful for, but also having to accept the disappointments that are likely there as well. For the collective, the energy of Gemini and Mercury both speak to what we're talking about on a collective level, including in the media. And all of this suggests this mix of good news, but also disappointing news, of something that feels just downright inspiring, but also other news that feels like it carries with it sadness and uncertainty, the kind of uncertainty where we wish outcomes were different in some way. It becomes really important at this time to be mindful of our thoughts, to be mindful of the information we're letting in, to ensure that we are speaking to ourselves in ways that are overall empowering. Now, in our individual journeys, a lot depends on your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. Take all three into consideration and synthesize the information to make it unique to you. I spoke about this full moon energy for each and every sign over in the monthly horoscopes on my YouTube channel and in the superstar space at thefutureismagical.com. Visit those now. Aries, siblings, cousins, neighbors, it is these very people now who may need a heightened level of your energy or attention in a way that might feel tiring, but also possible one of these people might be making changes in their life that you wish you had more say over or power over, that feel disappointing in some way. But for all that, this can be one of those times where you're invited to consider what it is to bring a positive perspective for yourself and others, regardless of whatever disappointing news could find you in just about any area of life. There's every reason for hope as you now recognize the great opportunity available to you. Taurus, money you earn, money you spend, self-love, self-esteem. Look, we are right around the corner from Mercury going direct. And I know some people are getting antsy with maybe feeling like they need to buy gifts. If you can hold out for just a little while longer, it'll be a good thing, because purchases you make now, well, they may not live up to your expectation in some way. If a financial opportunity presents itself to you, that too might leave more to be wanting. However, there's every reason for hope here that there is prosperity for you. There absolutely is. And you may come to identify financial opportunity where perhaps you just didn't realize it was there before, but now that you see it, it fills you with hope and meaning going forward from here. Gemini, identity, priorities, who you know yourself to be, what matters to you most and first is going to be illuminated in ways. And The thing is, what really matters, it's going to strengthen. But what really doesn't, energy like this says, it either is not going to be satisfying to you or it's going to just leave in some way. Even though there may be feelings of disappointment, it's more about the uncertainty. But for all that, you really are right now with Jupiter in your sign in a space of starting all kinds of new chapters. And this full moon is allowing space so that you can embrace new beginnings and new opportunities, that much more, that will reveal themselves soon enough. Cancer, soul, psyche, spirit, fortunate karmic closures, but also karmic blessings that just find you. It's the stuff that you're really wanting or striving for or think that you're meant to have in a larger sense that can end up being less than satisfying or maybe downright disappointing. But it's important to understand that right now, a higher, more loving vision for your life means that there are going to be some healthy closures. There is every reason for hope here. Difficult situations can find themselves just leaving your life in the best possible sense. Have faith in your life and in your future. You're connecting with a higher spiritual purpose now, even if you don't have all the details ironed out just yet. Leo, friendship, group endeavors, there are going to be changes and shifts and turns in some way. For some, you're going to realize that some group endeavor you've been giving a lot of yourself to, it just isn't doing it for you anymore. Or it might be them that says, hey, you know what? This really might not be your forte. Thank you very much. But I do think this can be a time when you really see who your friends are and who are not, whom it is that you want in your life and whom it is that perhaps has served their purpose. And that can be bittersweet. But here's the thing. There's also a lot of faith that genuine friendships and alliances and connections, well, they can find you now in one way or another. And this could be a time when you least expected, a friend emerges. Virgo, career, social standing, life purpose. There are going to be changes in your connection with a higher up or a person in position of authority, maybe a boss, and some big opportunity. Maybe you thought it was going to be there, something you were striving for, a promotion. It just may end up either not being satisfying or feeling like it slips through your fingers. But here's the thing. What is for you is going to be for you. There's every reason for hope that big career opportunities can be there, but what you think it is and what it actually is might not be the same thing, and either really is okay. You getting a chance to become a boss could be part of this energy, though that too might not be as clear-cut as you hope. You'll have a learning curve, but you will find your way forward. Libra, long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, and legal matters. If you're involved in any of these, well, it could be now that some resolution is found, even though it fills you with a sense of some contentment and hope. The outcome may not necessarily be any kind of windfall, that's for sure, but at least it allows you to know where you stand so that now you can move forward towards something that feels more in alignment with where you are supposed to be, figuratively and literally. More personally, this could be a time when your personal beliefs about the world, your religious, political, philosophical, feels misunderstood in some way, and it's up to you to decide whether or not it's worth the effort of trying to get someone to see your perspective. Scorpio, most Scorpions are going to experience this energy in the context of your relationship with financial institutions and your understanding of wealth, which means there might be a financial matter you have to pay attention to, a credit card, loan, grant, benefits you might qualify for. The great thing is that with Jupiter here, you are protected, even if it feels as if you've got to take some extra steps to resolve a certain issue. It really is okay, especially when we have such strong financial energy. The money you need is there. You're navigating spiritual lessons to have it come together. Sagittarius, partnership and love, getting very honest with yourself about where you are in love and how you feel about it is going to come with a whole bunch of mixed feelings or mixed emotions. There might be some disappointment now, but it might not be anything of great consequence. It might be related to the past or just plans changing in the present. For all that, though, remember Jupiter remains in your opposite sign. It is going to remind you that healing and hope is very much on the horizon in the context of meaningful connections with others. Capricorn, your daily life, your work life, and how well you take care of you with your health. So this full moon does have some mixed energy. On the one hand, it brings with it healing and hope, which can be very exciting. There might be opportunity there or changes that you really like in the workplace. However, we've also got some stressful energy as well with Neptune and Saturn, which says there might be a whole lot that needs to get done as you move through your day with your work, or it might feel like you're looking at a health-related situation, and even though you know that there are ways to move forward to feel even better, there might be a moment there that calls your attention to a matter that needs attention. Might not feel easy, but you do navigate this time towards a greater sense of well-being. Aquarius, romance, flirtation, and what the heart wants in every area of life. Now, you might be getting your flirt on, but it's a bit of a mixed bag here. I love that Jupiterian energy because it brings with it a sense of connection and hope and confidence within. However, the fact that we've got those other challenging energies say that there might be some disappointment there with someone you had hoped for, or maybe had your eye on, but it could also be someone you're dating just has to change plans, and it really is okay. Regardless, though, remember to trust the voice in your heart in all kinds of ways. In the weeks forward, it'll only lead you towards greater happiness and fun as well. Pisces, home, your living situation, and your family of origin. So this tends to bring with it a lot of activity taking place on the home front. Now, if you're looking to buy, sell, move, or attract a new roommate, I would invite you to just wait a little bit. What you think it is, especially as we move to the last days of this week, and what it actually is could end up being really different, especially once we navigate into next week with Mercury officially direct. For all that, though, connecting and reconnecting with family members, that just might be where the healing and the hope is now. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.